Previously on the Fan of History, Sargon II, king of Assyria, fought for control over Mania with King Rusa of Urartu. Welcome to Sargon's Great Adventure. Sargon II, king since 722 BC. This episode is all 714 BC. Everything happens in one single year. Sargon had initial problems in all directions, but so far, east, west and south is the correct one there. So far everything has been going quite well. He has three powerful arch enemies. In this episode he will fight Rusa of Urartu, but don't forget about King Midas of Phrygia and Merodach Baladan of Babylonia. Sennacherib still hanging out in the new capital in Dur-Sharrukin, doing the administrative work of the empire and the building, so Dad doesn't have to because Dad is out fighting. And now look at the situation in Mania. We have Mania being influenced from the north by Urartu, from the west by Assyria, and the Medes, they have given up. They are like, we are not dealing with Sargon anymore. We are not trying to take over Mania. We are out. So in 714 BC, Sargon begins this great campaign. And I'm not sure he knows how great this will be when he goes out on campaign. And in the next episode, we'll discover little else that happened in 714. But I'll come back to that. So the host of Ashur is gathered. There is of course the standing army, but it's reinforced by seasonary warriors. He marches the Assyrian army to Lulumu, where there is a general inspection. Lulumu, you might remember, is one of the places in Mania that was made into an Assyrian province earlier. Sargon then marches towards Sikirtu and Andia. And when the Manians see Sargon coming back, again, this is the third year in a row, they pay tribute. They like, whoa, Sargon, you're back. We really like this. Bel Apla Adina of Alabria pays tribute to Sargon. King Dalta of Ilippi, still going strong, pays tribute to Sargon. The rulers of Parsua, Namri, and those Medes that are nearby, they also pay tribute to Sargon. But one special character that appears here is Ulusunu of Uishdish. Remember Ulusunu? He was put on the throne. He was put on the throne after his brother was killed by the enemies of Assyria, but he turned into Urartian influence. He swore allegiance to Urartu, but Sargon pardoned him, and now he comes crawling to Sargon like a dog. I couldn't find a picture of this epic event, so this is like Sargon and some random dignitary. But Ulusunu comes to meet Sargon on all fours because he has lost his kingdom to Rusa of Urartu. Rusa has taken Ulusunu's kingdom, but still Ulusunu is on Team Assyria. So Sargon tells him to stand up. Sargon promises to reclaim Ulusunu's kingdom for him. There is a party and a splendid banquet to celebrate this event, and then it's time for war. So I couldn't figure out where Uishdish is. It is in Mania, probably close to Urartu. We are about to get the only first-hand report from an actual battle by any Assyrian. The Assyrians never tell us what they do in battle, but Sargon will tell us. The problem is that I don't know if you can believe Sargon. But if you really want to, I will read the full account of the battle in Sargon epic voice on the YouTube channel. If I get 50 comments telling me to read it in epic voice, I will. Please listen to Sargon's speech about his deeds, which does not include this battle. That is already on the YouTube channel. I have omitted a lot of details in this episode because there is so many details about this campaign. So I hope I found the balance. The Assyrian army leaves Sikirtu and proceeds to Uishdish to retake Ulusunu's capital. But Rusa has brought the Urartian army and the army of Sikirtu under Mitati, they are kind of sad that Sargon already has Sekirtu. So they want Sekirtu back. And they have allied themselves with Urartu. They were already on Team Urartu. And they join Rusa to avenge and take back their homeland. Sargon has spies everywhere, and they report that the Urartian army is lying in ambush for him in the mountains. So no ambush, they know about the Urartian army. But the Assyrians are very tired by all this marching. And Sargon pushes forward. His plan is to speed march into the mountains and catch the Urartians by surprise. But this drains his army. So we get the details of this campaign in a letter from Sargon to Ashur, to the god Ashur. The Sargon explains what happens to Ashur. All very dramatic. But now the army is tired, hungry and thirsty. Sargon has forced them to march way too quickly. And suddenly, right before them, not quite by surprise, but battle ready, on high ground, there is the army of Urartu. Well rested, well fed. So what can Sargon do in this situation? He can't surrender. There is no such thing as surrender to Sargon. And if he retreats, he invites disaster. Rusa can follow him and punish him for retreating. Sargon orders a full-on attack by the Assyrian army. This is the Assyrian royal army of Tiglath-Pileser III. It's an army that can't be defeated in the open field in its full might, he thinks. But the Assyrian army refuses to attack because they're tired, hungry and thirsty, and the Urartians look dangerous. So Sargon has a general disobedience from his army, and they don't obey him, and he is super upset. So then this is all according to Sargon's content. Then he calls out his household cavalry, which is his personal bodyguard. I'm sure he gave a great speech to them. And then he charges with just his bodyguard. And the Urartians, they're like, what is going on now? There comes Sargon and his bodyguard. And the soldiers, he charges wildly into Urartian line. And the soldiers there, they're like, what? What's happening? And the Assyrian army is not lined up properly. They were like, they didn't want to get into this battle. But the Urartian soldiers, they give ground to Sargon. Sargon penetrates the line. And the Assyrian army then, seeing their king sacrificing his life for his honor, they take courage and they follow Sargon. If this is true, this is the final evidence that Urartian soldiers just can't stand on the battlefield fighting Assyrian soldiers. It's evidence that Urartu did right all these years when they hid in the mountains, they built fortresses and stuff, because this is this is so poor. This performance is so poor by the Urartian army. So with this first insane attack and then the full charge of the Assyrian royal army, the Urartian starts to retreat. And Sargon, who is still somehow alive, spots Rusa himself in his chariot and charges straight at him. And in the fray, Rusa's horses are slain, and Rusa leaps up on a mare and flees the battlefield. And riding away from the battlefield on a mare, that's a super big disgrace. So Sargon makes a lot of this in his writing about this battle. King Mitati of Sekirtu, Rusa's ally, he's caught and executed on the field, and the Urartian army routs. So Sargon goes after it. The disintegrating Urartian army is fleeing back to Urartu, but Sargon is following. Many Urartians are killed or freeze to death when they try to hide in the high mountains. The chase moves into Urartu proper. They go past Lake Urmia, or the Rolling Sea, as the Assyrians call it. And Rusa abandons any attempt to hold the Urartian capital, Tushpa, and flees into the mountains of Urartu to hide. And suddenly Sargon has penetrated further into Urartu than any Assyrian king has since the days of Shalmaneser III. And we have seen Urartu build its power for so long, and Sargon just smashes it. And now my favorite character shows up. It's Yansu, the king of Nairi. And when there's trouble, he's paying tribute to Sargon. He's like, cool that you showed up, Sargon. I was really waiting for you. Here is your tribute. Let's chase down these Urartians. And I'm sure he told the Urartians something similar before. But there is a ton of details in the letter here, in the pursuit, the area Sargon goes through. He tells you the full story of these areas. You learn of the method for training horses in Ushkaya. You learn about elaborate waterworks in Ulku. The places are hard to understand where they are, and the geography just doesn't really match up in Sargon's account. But it's still something we haven't really seen before. So the Urartian army, or what is left of it, and King Rusa, they're hiding in the mountains. And Sargon just sacks countless cities. Oh, don't get me wrong, Sargon counted them. You can hear it all in the epic speech. But it's a total victory for Assyria. But the Assyrian army they were already tired before the battle. And now Sargon has them running through high mountains chasing Rusa. So there is a threat of mutiny, and Sargon finally decides to turn back. This is a pretty good campaign for 1 year, with this great victory against Urartu. So Sargon agrees, okay guys, we are going back to Assyria. But on the way back, there is a horrible omen. There are soothsayers and astrologers in Sargon's army. Sargon is interested in this stuff. He really believes in it, and they have been giving him bad signs for for some time. And now there is a horrible sign. And we are now close to Musasir. Musasir is ruled by a king called Usana. It is the holy city of the god Haldi. We talked about Musasir plenty of times, but it was conquered by the Urartians, but they left Ursana in place in the 720s, just a couple of shows ago. But the main temple of Haldi is in the town then. And we know, because this horrible omen is a lunar eclipse, and we can, through astronomy, figure out that it happened on October 24, 714 BC. So we have the exact date of this event. And of course, this is a super bad sign. The astrologers goes crazy. This means death and destruction. They're telling the soldiers, they're telling Sargon. The soldiers start to eye each other. Maybe this means death and destruction for Sargon. But Sargon spins it. He says, yes, it means death and destruction for Musasir. And 2 centuries later, Xerxes will do a similar thing. The Persian king, when the army refuses to cross the Hellespont to conquer Greece, he does something similar. But Sargon now orders a full attack on the city of Musasir. And this was not in his plans. He did not plan this. He did not hate Musasir this much. But now they attack. The terrified inhabitants of Musasir, they did not expect that either. It is possible that they had paid their tribute to Sargon, because they don't expect this. So when they see the Assyrian army approach, they're like, oh no, we're not gonna go like Arpad. We're not gonna take a siege. We know that the Assyrians offer surrender first when they come to a city. And if you surrender, you are treated leniently. So they open their gates, but there is no leniency in Sargon. He thoroughly plunders Musasir, and the list is so long of the stuff they take, so we have to come back to that. But Musasir becomes an Assyrian possession, and there is at the very same time another terrible disaster that strikes Urartu. So Urartu, already beaten, now faces another similar event, but that I will save for the next show. So the loot from Musasir. This is an actual depiction from Sargon's scribes showing the Assyrian army carrying stuff out of Musasir, including scribes that write down everything that is taken. The whole list of loot includes 334,000 objects. It's 50 columns of text. Yeah, here is some examples. 1 ton of gold, 5 tons of silver, 293 silver caps, 12 silver shields, an ivory bed with a silver mattress. Those beds, they're back. No monkeys this time though. But plenty of loot. And then, of course, the main temple of Haldi is looted. The House of Weapons itself. This place was probably founded by King Menua of Urartu, and we talked about him, we talked about the House of Weapons. He ruled Urartu about 810 to 786 BC, and later Urartian kings probably increased the splendor of this temple, because for a long time Haldi used to be the supreme god of Urartu. And Sargon makes a lot of the attack on and the destruction of this temple. So yeah, total victory for Sargon in Musasir, and then he tells the soldiers, well, there is your death and destruction. The omen said so, and this is what happened. And the soldiers are like, oh wow, Sargon, he's really wise. And this was the great adventure of Sargon. And this guy, the author and scholar Joshua J. Mark remarks that the difficulty of the Urartu campaign is made clear through Sargon's letters to Ashur, but the obstacles did not deter the king from pursuing his objective. Even when his men refused to fight, Sargon would not consider surrender or retreat. He took the risk of personally leading those who would follow him to battle, and he won. In his letter to his god, Sargon details the difficulties he had to face in attaining his goal, but he never hints at giving up. His perseverance and courage against all odds illustrates the truth of the sentiments expressed in Walter D. Wintel's poem, Thinking. If you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Sargon's resolve provides an example worth following for those in the present day who, faced with their own dark times, can still choose to fight against the forces which threaten them and prevail. So the advice is always go down with the fight like Sargon did. Except he didn't go down, he was super victorious. And in the aftermath of this, King Rusa of Urartu takes his own life with his sword. And Sargon, of course, claims that it's because Sargon won the victory at Musasir. And Rusa could not see his holy city go down like that. But if Rusa cared so much about his holy city, would he not have integrated it with Urartu? Would he kept it as a vassal kingdom? Maybe he would. But there is this other disaster that Rusa has suffered. And I personally think that Rusa is taking his life because of both disasters, but mainly because of the other one that we will talk about in the next episode. So he is succeeded by Argishti II. Argishti is Rusa's son. He has already seen military command. He has been doing Urartian raids on Assyrian territory, which probably means that he attacked Manians that were loyal to Assyria. Argishti II will not forgive Sargon, but he has other things to attend to. So at this time, we have seen Sargon fighting on the Manian border for 8 years. For 8 years there's been trouble on the Manian border, but it's not gonna be because of Rusa anymore, or because of Urartu, because Urartu will now be doing other things. Mania in itself will be a little trouble. The Manians are not all gonna sign up on Team Assyria immediately. If you become a vassal state of Assyria, you have to pay a lot of money to them, and people will do a lot of things to avoid that. But that is all for the next episode, because that was Sargon's great adventure, and Sargon will be back in the next episode. But next time something will happen that hasn't happened on this show. We're starting in 1000 BC, and we have never seen anything like this. Because next time it's barbarian invasion with horse people, just like the Huns, just like the Mongols. They come sweeping down, it's an entirely new thing for the Middle East. They don't remember the last time this happened, and yeah, they will have to face this. If you like what we do at Fan of History, currently we're doing Timeline of World History, this show, but this show will stop at 701 BC, and we are doing the podcast. If you like what we're doing, you can support us on Patreon. Patreon.com Fan of History. I currently live as a podcaster and YouTuber, and this is one of my minor projects, but I want this project to be bigger. But to do that, I need some help. So if you really like what we do, please support us, and please tell us what you would like to see here. But if we get to $30 on the Patreon, we will go past 701 BC on the podcast. Otherwise, the podcast also ends with the destruction of Sennacherib, because this YouTube show will end with the destruction of Sennacherib in 701 BC. If we reach $200, we will do the podcast weekly, which means that we will get you will get so many awesome things from Assyrian history. Or maybe you want us to change the subject completely and talk about another era of history. And if that's what you want, tell us about it, because Fan of History is for all history. Thank you all for watching. If you don't have the cash but you still want to support us, you can write iTunes reviews for the podcast. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can like this. You can share this. You can help spread the word. Thank you so much for watching.